Quilty is brought to you by APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Clothworks, inspiring creativity with art on fabric. Hovels Sewing, when you need to cut it close, choose Hovels. P&B, our fabrics, your lifestyle. Quiltology, the urban quilt space.
Quilty.
Here's a question. What do you do with all of these scraps? These things, all of this? Well, the answer is coming today on Quilty, so stick around and watch this episode and bust all of these scraps. You make a string quilt. That's what you do with all of these pieces that otherwise, I don't know what you would do with them. They're too small. Well, some people make miniature quilts, like teeny tiny ones. I don't make those kind of quilts. That's a different kind of quilter. That's great. For me, the answer to the scrap problem is the string quilt. And I have to tell you a little secret. I'm going to confess something. I almost didn't get my work done because this was so fun to prep for the show and to make a string quilt block that I nearly sabotaged the entire shoot, the shoot that we're doing here, because I just wanted to make string quilt blocks, period. That's all I wanted to do, was use up these scraps. So let's do it. I'm gonna put these scraps back in this bag so I have a clean, tidy area. Tell all my students that. Make sure you're tidying up as you go along. So what you need to do, and this is what a string quilt block looks like when you have it all together before you trim it. It looks crazy. It looks like some scrap monster. Sorry, that's what it looks like, but it won't look like that when you trim it. It will look something like this. So when we trim this down, when we trim this block on all four sides, we get this nice, clean string quilt block. And just to pique your interest even more, I'm gonna bring in 4 of them put together. Look at that. That is scrap busting right there. I'm going through all these scraps. Now, what I did and what we're gonna do today to show you how to do this, I kept the center of each string quilt block in this little 4-piece demo, this four block example. I used red in the center every single time because what happens then when you put these together is you have some uniformity and you can create these diamond shapes, or you can sort of have a pattern to your chaos. It's organized chaos. So we're gonna do that with the demo here today. So I'm going to put aside my monster that I made. And what you get to do is you get to decide everything about the string quilt. You get to decide how big your blocks are. In this case, 6.5. I just cut these squares 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. This is foundation paper. It's really just super light, newsprinty kind of paper. You can even use newspaper like they did in the olden days. Get some paper, cut the size of the block you want, and then I use a little glue. You actually do need a fabric glue stick in your toolkit from time to time. I just put a dab of glue on either side of the paper. And the only reason that we do that is because when we grab our first scrap, it's only for the first one, but when you grab it and you put it down, it just kind of holds it in place because you're gonna be taking this over to the sewing machine and flipping it around a little bit. So that just kind of holds it in place. It's totally washable, it washes out. So what you're essentially doing is foundation paper piecing, but it's like easier than any other foundation piecing doing the string quilt. So then you just start grabbing scraps. Let's do it for real on this one that I've already gotten started. So here's the block that I've started. I put down my strip, sewed, folded over, pressed it. Let's put down another one. I mean, this is just like, there's nothing to this. You just don't have any kind of rules or pattern to follow. It's just you and your sewing machine and your favorite podcast, whatever podcast you like to listen to. I have my favorites, you may have your favorites, or the radio or your movies or whatever. You can really kind of zone out and just do it. And I'm gonna square this off because it's a little bit uneven. So I'm gonna put this down and just make it kind of like 1.5 inches. I mean, I'm sort of eyeballing this too. You know what? You put that safety glove on. That's right, I'm trained. I'm trained for safety. Okay, and I'm gonna slice off that edge. Okay, get that out of there. Toss that away. And press this away too. And I'm putting this down on my other side of my red, okay? So just like I told you before, how you get it started, you put right sides together because these are two solids, you don't really have a right and wrong side, they're the same on both sides. Put this down and we're gonna sew this 1/4 inch right like that, okay? We're gonna do that right now. So I'm gonna move to the sewing machine and sit here. My lovely little sewing machine. How you doing? I'm pretty good. How are you doing? I'm good. Making a string quilt sewing machine. Enjoying this a great deal. Okay. So I've got gotta raise my needle up. It's almost kind of a rule with paper piecing that you need to make your stitch shorter because you need to be able to pull the paper off easily. And a short stitch will help you do that. I'm gonna race along here. I'm just sewing right down the strip. Now take this and set our seam with our hot iron. Set the seam and open it up. And it's like beautiful magic. Look at that beautiful magic. And you don't have to trim anything off yet. We're not even there yet. We just put on our other strip, okay? So now I'm gonna do that. Okay, so let me get a big piece so we can move along because I wanna show you one other thing today. Okay, let me get a big piece. Is this gonna cover it? You want something to cover that, well, in this case, I want something to cover that corner. So I'm gonna get this. Aha, here we go. Watch this. This is fun. Are you ready for this? You feeling angry? Feeling upset? Had a bad day? That's what I'm doing. Just cutting that. I'm cutting that and then I put it down like this. Now that's a little wasteful. I could probably, be a little bit more judicious with my fabric. But I lay that down on my side, sew it and flip it, and it's going to cover that corner of that block. Does that make sense at home? I hope so. Alright, so now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew this one down. And that's going to finish our block extraordinarily. I mean, it's just like, I hope you're nodding your head and going, I want to make one of those. I want to do that. And if you know me personally, you can come over and raid my scrap bag. That's really going to be fun for you if you know me because I have a lot of scraps. Maybe we'll put together a little care package for somebody, some fan that we love. Alright, so now let's set the seam and open it up and trim. Trim, trim, trim. Okay, so I'm setting the seam. You always set the seam. It embeds the threads into the fabric. Okay, and then you open it up. And here we have, I'm going to do the monster thing again. Another scrap monster! Ah! Okay, now I'm going to take this over and I'm going to flip it just like that, okay? And I'm going to move this bag of scraps and I'm going to put on my cutting glove and I'm going to trim this block. And it's going to look gorgeous. Okay, you ready for this? I'm going to turn it a little bit like this. Put down my rotary cutting ruler. Really make sure I'm being accurate here. Use my rotary cutter, cut with conviction, and I'm going to move that away. 1 down, 3 to go. The magic. I mean, I really am inspired by this. It's just so easy and it's so fast and like very effective. And quilters have always been great recyclers. We have always taken things that were like, old dresses, old feed sacks, and we make them into something else, and we still do. And all the beautiful fabrics out there today are just begging to be used, every little bit of them. Well, with this, you can. Bam. Bam. Okay, now we gotta tear that paper off, but that's like the most fun part. So I'm gonna go like this. The paper's yellow and orange, orange and red. And with this stitch being so small, it just tears off like a charm. It's like perforated perfectly. Perfectly perforated. So anyway, you get the idea. If you have paper left over, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You can pick it off, but don't lose your mind trying to pick all that off. It's not a big problem. So once you have a bunch of those done, put them together and keep putting them together till you have as big a quilt as you want. Small, big, extra big, huge, monster sized. Use your scraps, make a string quilt, give it away to charity, maybe. Just an idea, or use it for yourself. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you online at heyquilty.com and on Facebook too. Thanks.
Quilty is brought to you by APQS, handcrafted quilting machines. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Clothworks, inspiring creativity with art on fabric. Hovels Sewing, when you need to cut it close, choose Hovels. E&B, our fabrics, your lifestyle. Quiltology, the urban quilt space.